read one time, like, would you rather be at war with yourself and at peace with the world, or at peace with yourself and at war with the world? And that was powerful.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Bronze Room.
Yes, sir.
This is your host, Chris Reese, your man, not your boy.
And this is your other host, Chris McKinley. Y'all can just call me Chris. I'll take it.
And we're coming to you live from downtown LA with a special episode. We are here in the Seker Factory, which is hosted by our two beautiful hosts today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Thank you. Welcome. Yeah, I'm Nathan, and I helped put this place together, and it's a place that I don't own. It's a place that you own. Everybody owns this spot, and that's one of the interesting, beautiful things that we might get into in a little bit.
I love that.
Beautiful.
I love that. And who is our other lovely host over here?
Ooh, that's a hard intro to top. I'm Tiffany. I also sort of helped start the space. Excited to talk to you guys about what we're bringing to digital art in the creative field.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. And on that note, we have to say this is such a beautiful space, guys.
Really is.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I walked out in here and I was just completely blown away. Like, I have ADHD, so I'm just like distracted and in complete awe. Yeah, exactly.
That's what we like to hear. And it comes from the hard work of people that specialize in the film industry, lighting, sound, projection mapping, software. I'm a blockchain expert by trade, and I do some things on the back end, but I cannot take credit for a large percentage of how this looks.
Nice. It's a collaboration. It's a collaborative effort. And some of the best things in life are collaborative efforts, man. This is beauty.
Absolutely. Yeah, we like to work together here, and we like to make sure that everybody gets to have their fair output, not just their fair inputs, right? We want to make sure that everybody gets to own this space, and you don't work for the Seker Factory, you work with the Seker Factory or within. This is something that everybody that builds this gets to feel like they built something that they're owning and creating themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, why don't you give us a little more detail about what goes into being a part of the Seker Factory?
Yeah, I mean, it probably sounds strange that I come out of the gates with that, and I really like to emphasize that.
It comes strong. That's
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. I think it's because it's a very important part of this space. It's what we call a DAO in the applied cryptography, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency field, and a DAO stands for a decentralized autonomous organization.
Okay, so
And
it is an actual acronym.
It
That's
is.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Because when I first heard it, I was like, is that like Taoism?
Exactly.
Like, okay.
It's maybe a serendipitous kind of coincidence that it sounds like Taoism. It kind of has a bit of the same like Vedic feeling to it as well. And the idea is that decentralization means that there's no centralized owner of the space. There's no power structure that gets to be a dictator here. So in essence, this is a democratic workspace. So those three words are just kind of fancy ways of saying that this is a creative space where people can get together, create things, show off artwork. So it's a bit of a traditional gallery in that sense, but it's completely operated democratically and owned by the people that build it. So it's in a sense, a statement against capitalism and the way that normal and traditional companies operate.
Nice. So, in essence, it's a utopian society where you guys create wonderful works of art.
That's the idea, yeah.
like
And I'll be fair and say democracy is a tough thing to get right, and there's a lot of work that goes into the democratic process of how to operate a workspace democratically. And maybe that's why you don't see a lot of democratic workspaces out in the wild. It's a lot easier for a dictator to tell you what to do and tell you how to live your life and how to take your money. But, I think it's a little bit lazy to not try. And democracy is something that can be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I applaud the effort, man. I'm all about change and reapproaching the way we do things.
Yeah, that's your whole spiel, Chris. That's your whole thing.
It is the theme of my life.
That is.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'll be coming to the Seker Factory often.
Absolutely. That makes two of us.
Heck yeah. Can you give us a little more detail about how somebody might become a part of the Seker Factory?
Yeah, so we have memberships. This is something that's similar to a co-op. And in the cryptography space, in the cryptocurrency space, this is represented with an NFT. So these NFTs are something that you can acquire, and it gives you a voting right inside of the space. So we have a multi-tiered system, and it's not like a multi-tiered pyramid system. Nothing similar to that. What it is there's a decent amount of economic theory that goes into how the space operates. It's very well thought out gallery, and so you can come in to just sort of speculate and use markets to determine what the value of the space is, and in a sense it's like buying a stock in this space, or you can become an active voting member of the space, and to do that you just prove that you're a human so that we can level up your NFT. And if you do that, then we can give you a voting right. The main reason we do that is we just want to make sure that people can't buy voting rights, so we want to make it one member, one vote, and we don't want to have a system where one really wealthy guy comes in and gets to own and operate. That would defeat the whole purpose of this. So, so you just prove that you're human, and then you have a voting right, and then you can vote on things like which artists should be involved in the space, right? So we want to be a gallery that's not curated by somebody that has ulterior motives to line their pockets. We want to have a space where it's collaborative, and we want to let authentic art have a space to breathe. We want to try to figure out what it means to be authentic digital art, and what we see as like a renaissance in digital art that seems to be happening, not just in what looks to be like contemporary art. If you look around the space, there's lots of really cool 3D models and projection mappings for things that look quite digital as digital art. But music is also digital art. We have many forms of digital art as well, and even classic art. I think we have a way of trying to potentially fix some of the problems with traditional classic art with gated, curated places and places that rely too much on markets as the indication of what value in art we have, instead of like art is a human thing that we all experience and appreciate and enjoy, and it communicates what it means to be a human. A lot of times art falls to you sold it for $30 million at Christie's, or it's this indicator of a market value. So we want to try to fix that here. We're doing it with digital art first, but maybe this could be an example for how this would work for other places. And so we need people for that, and you can come and anybody can walk through the doors and join. So there's no application process. That's one of the nice things about the decentralized part of being a DAO. It's just open. It's like a field that you can graze, right? You can walk in on a field. You gain the things that field has to offer, which could be fruits, vegetables, farming. Here it's being able to present your works of art, and places for people to do podcasts or to do anything. It's a commons, and to accurately or to sustainably maintain that field, we all have to take care of each other. And that's where the democratic part comes in. We want to make sure that we all have a say and a voice. And so you can go to SekerFactory.com to get your membership card or join our Discord. There's also information at SekerFactory.com on how to join the Discord, and that's where we communicate. And you can talk to us and ask questions, learn more, and tell us how you want to contribute. And we'll also help guide you into places and things that we could use in the commons.
Very nice.
Heck yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited for the Seker Factory and where it's going in the future, the very near future at that.
Sir.
And I'm excited to be collaborating with you, the Bronze Room, with the Seker Factory, with MYXR. Hey, this is a beautiful union. Beautiful union.
I love it. I love it a lot.
Yeah, welcome to your new home.
Hey, appreciate that. Appreciate that. Mi casa es su casa, right, as they used to say. All right. Well, now that we have properly introduced our gracious host for the night, we're going to introduce another guest that we have for you. Chris, why don't you take over for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this person that I'm about to introduce is what I would consider a good friend of mine. Absolutely.
Thanks. Checks in the mail, bro.
Yo, I'm expecting it.
Good. It's only $1, bro.
Somebody that I've known for a little bit of time now. I've had a chance to check out his work, to his professional work, and he's got great vibes. Very funny and intellectual person. So without further ado, I want to introduce Imagine.
What up, man?
What's going on?
Yeah,
player?
my name's Imagine. Okay, I was listening to the well thought out sales pitch for the Seker Factory that Nathan artfully constructed with full use of his thesaurus. Thank you. And okay, so you see you invite questions. I got a question. Okay, so you said one person, one vote. Okay, now let's simplify it for the dummies out there like myself, and let's say one person, one vote between our bronze room hosts, myself, and then the Seker Factory hosts. That's a total of 5 people. Got a district judges. Yes, that is 5. Okay. Now, let's say we all have a vote in how this venue is operated. In the basis that construct fits into how the Seker Factory works, right? If it was overly simplified into 5 people, that's how it works. Okay, now let's say that, imagine the Bronze Room team decide, you know what, we're going to be assholes, and we're going to outvote the Seker Factory founders and how this is going to run down.
Yeah, Chris McKinley.
Could that happen, potentially?
That's a very thoughtful question, and thank you for asking that, because that's some of the things that I work on. It's been a lot of my day trying to answer. Just from the onset of this, yeah, we absolutely think about problems like that. What you just described would be a collusion attack in a democratic system where a few people get together for their own self-interest that goes against the system as a whole. What we've done to try to prevent that is we've developed a constitution for this space. So, you know, this is something that's probably not normal for an art venue or gallery space, but we actually have a constitution similar to how the United States would operate their democracy, where we have laid out our guiding principles, and these become things that are used in times of conflict as resolution points. So if anybody has, you know, a split in the democratic process, we can all go back to look at this guiding principle and say, what is the thing that would be, you know, the fallback whenever we are having issues? And so if, you know, 3 people got together and decided to take over the space and, you know, remove artists' ability to express themselves, that's clearly against the Constitution. Now, the Constitution's not going to enforce that on its own. 3 people could certainly do that. However, it might be against their best interests to do that. The space might lose a lot of the thing that allows it to operate. So whenever you have a space that works well for the whole, whenever you get things out of the system that you're putting things into in a fair manner, you get incentive aligned to make sure that that system is running correctly. And our awesome podcast hosts, Chris and Chris, just said, I would never do that. They're already incentive aligned to not want to do that. So I think that's a big part of building good systems, is making sure that people are getting things out of it that, you know, would make it to where they wouldn't want to destroy the hand that is feeding them, essentially.
But I am super shiesty, so I will make it happen. So but I'm glad you pointed it out, because so the Constitution is what drives you. I'm glad you brought up the alignment between, or the similarity between the United States of America and your venue here, all dependent on the Constitution and those that wrote it and enforce it and ultimately determine its trajectory. But in human nature, the Constitution could be voted to be revoked, and we can just go straight into a purge simulation, right? So technically, we could go into that direction, yes?
So quickly, you kind of said a key word. You said in human nature, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I don't think it's in human nature to destroy the systems around us. I think we have small glitches where we see, you know, billionaires taking more from the system than they're putting back into it. These things are not, in what is called game theory, sustainable games. So if you have an organism that overeats its food supply, it's too strong, it will actually destroy itself. So these things are not technically sustainable over time. So it really is in everybody's best interest to work together.
Can you name one civilization in the history of the world that has ever acted upon its self-interest and not eat itself alive?
China. I'm just gonna throw that out right. China. They've been around for how long? 5,000 years?
5,000 years, but they've definitely
In its
turned on
truest
themselves.
form, and not in the form of like its current state. But China's been here for thousands of years, sure. But has China operated in its own similar manner all these years? Because there was communism, there was Taoism, there was Confucius.
right.
He was around for a couple times, right? He was around.
Arguably, though, that is the nature of things, right? Everything has a beginning and everything has an end. I feel like right now we're in a very beautiful beginning for the Seker Factory. And I think, why bite the hand that feeds you is kind of the philosophy.
And so whenever you say, has there ever been a nation state that, has been sustainable? The answer is, well, no, because nation states themselves are not sustainable. What a nation state does is it looks at like very short-term games. It will only look at iterations of, a small number. And this game theory that I just described, where it's in your best interest to cooperate, it really works over time. It's more of an in the nature question. So whenever people say it's in human nature, I have the science to disagree with you on that. It's actually in the nature, in the long-term nature, for us to have these systems that work well together. And humans are still technically here. Nations have come and gone, and empires have risen and fallen to the people many times. So if you're zooming out enough, then I would say then that you can see it working. But you do have painful points along the way.
Yeah. I think Tiffany had.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Well, on the discussion of like nation states, I feel like the fact that there are coalitions coming together, like the EU for one, NATO, not as effective, but but the fact that different countries still want to work with each other, or that there's still a diplomatic way of approaching things, is sort of a proof that there still has to be some sort of collaboration, right? We're not all silos on our own. Whether how effective that is, I think there's definitely room for improvement on that. But I think humans realize that as much as we want to draw up as much boundary as we want to claim what's ours, etc., there's still space for having to communicate and work with other groups. So.
Yeah, I mean, NATO might not be the best current example with the eastward expansion that is causing current wars. But like this idea of kind of breaking down things over time. But I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment that it looks impossible, and it oftentimes looks like it's in our human nature to kind of chew ourselves apart. And I've heard that out of a lot of really wealthy, powerful people that I get to talk to on a regular basis. And I ask them, why are you doing this? Why are you not, trying to make the thing around you sustainable? Why are you not trying to allow yourself to live for a longer period of time? And they say, well, it's in human nature. If I didn't do it, somebody else would do it. And I wouldn't want to pursue that as my goal. I would like to try to pursue the systemic kind of cooperation that we can have together to hopefully live together. So,
Well, as an eternal idealist and eternal optimist, annoyingly to most of my friends and folks, I'm in complete alignment with you. But there has to be those types of questions to sell it to those who are still on the fence and who just may not be comfortable with this ideology. But like you said, for the evil corporate guy you were just describing just a moment ago, if someone's not going to do it, I was going to do it. But what's more important is on the flip side of those good-natured people, if you weren't going to do it, someone else had to do it. So I'm in your corner. We need more idealists. We need more optimists. We need more dreamers. We need more people that are going to actually try and take on the system. Because unfortunately, in this day and age, if someone doesn't do it, no one's going to do it. So someone has to do it. So I'm definitely in the corner of the Seker Factory for being in the winning circle for sure at the end of this. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. I like the idealism of the whole thing. Absolutely. I would say that it is always in our best interest to cooperate with each other, and I'm excited to see where this experiment goes.
Yeah, people are gonna win.
Definitely. Always.
Last point, the people will win. It's not an idea. It's it's just how it's going to pan out. If you're on the side of the people will always stand up and rise up and take care of these little problems that we see.
Yeah, hey, I'm fully on board with that, man. I love the optimism. I'm kind of in alignment with imagining that, you know, I can be an eternal pessimist in some regards, but it's always nice to have a splash of optimism in there.
Yeah, don't piss on my party, man.
You know, I love it. I love it, man. Let's take it to the man and let's change the system for the betterment of everybody.
And taking it to the man, you know, we were talking to this before the show started, talking about like Seker. I'm like, is that like Mark Zucker, like sticking to that man, or where does Seker come from? Where was the Seker Factory?
Yeah, I mean, definitely take it to Mark Zucker. So Seker is this little-known Egyptian god. He shows up in the underworld text, and it was a little falcon god making silver bowls. That's about his whole role in the underworld text. But because it was a person or a god that was building things, it became a patron god for the workers that were building the necropolis, which is the tombs for the pharaohs, the people that were the elite, privileged. You know, they were the ones that were, you know, sitting on top of society, and the workers that were slaving away, making their burial grounds, they chose this to be their patron god. And so that kind of might make sense to some of the things that I've just talked about, where we want workers to own what they build, and we want them to own the means of production. So that name just kind of was a nice little fit.
Yeah, that fits beautifully. Absolutely.
You know, I got a quick question for you, man. This is going to be a little bit of a tangent, just a tiny bit.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
do you think about, I forget what his first name is, but I believe his last name is Mr. Klaus? No.
Yeah, that's my dude.
He was recently quoted as saying, "You will own nothing and you will be happy." Now, are you familiar with who I'm talking about? Klaus Schwab is his name.
Sounds familiar. I'm not familiar with that person. I mean, that sounds like a very kind of Buddhist philosophy of dealing with the what they call dukkha, which would be life is pain. And one of the ways to do that is to deal with impermanence. Life is impermanent, and that's kind of what leads to a lot of pain. So that might be like similar in philosophy. If you own nothing, you will be happy. However, that's not at all what I'm trying to pursue. In fact, I'm trying to pursue hyper ownership. I'm trying to allow everybody to finally own what they deserve to own instead of.
He's actually an antagonist against that. He's one of the guys that's in the IMF, maybe one of those systems, and he's talking about quite the opposite.
And this is
ownership over everything, where everybody would be dependent on him and that organization.
And this is, I think, what leads to a lot of what scares people about these terms. People think about communism and the Red Scare from the older days, and they worry about somebody that is, this revolutionary idealism where you're going to be happy as long as you don't own, and we're all equal. And these kind of ideas, they generally lead towards dictators and people that can pick up power very easily. And so I'm not for that, and I'm trying to give back to the people that are giving. And that's the most important thing to focus on. It's, I don't want to get distracted with idealism. I don't want to get distracted with any sort of revolutionary ideas in a certain sense. Like, it's very clear and plain what we're trying to do. We just want to pay the people who are actually doing the work that we all enjoy. For some reason, this tends to have people like Klaus Schwab. People like this tend to have a problem with this idea, and I think that's because they want to be in positions of power. I've had this conversation with people in open source software where we're trying to pay people to, they build all of the tools that we're all using right now, open source developers, but traditionally have never been paid for it. And so we are trying to get money to them, and we get hit from these very idealistic people that are complaining about us bringing dirty money to these wholesome untouchable altruistic actors. And to me, it just seems insane. It seems like, why would you not pay for the public goods that we all use? You're going to see more public goods if we start allowing them to breathe and live and have just at least the basic necessities of life. And just improving the overall comfort of life of everybody instead of having it all funnel into the pockets of a select few with some privilege in our world.
So you're a proponent of competition. It's just fair competition.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's a rigged system right now, right? Yeah. There's a handful of people who've gotten lucky and won't attribute their success to the luck that they've had. There's a game called, there's a study that they did with Monopoly, and they got a bunch of people together with Monopoly, and they intentionally rigged some of the players to have better luck. And then afterwards, they asked them, why did you win the game? And every single one of them said, well, I'm a better Monopoly player.
Yeah. That's the unfortunate thing about success is people tend to attribute it to themselves, their own prowess, when a lot of times it is just pure luck or just timing, other factors that play into it.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest problem to solve for. It seems pretty clear to just pay people fairly, but it's kind of, there's a collective psychological issue to all of this where everybody feels like an embarrassed billionaire and feel like they need to be the next Elon Musk for some reason. And I'll tell you right now, one, you will never be the next Elon Musk. The odds of that mathematically are insanely low. And then I would then follow that up with, even if you were the next Elon Musk, you're not going to be happy. Like, are you going to be happy up there on top of everybody else who's suffering under you? I highly doubt that.
He seems pretty happy.
He seems pretty comfortable, at least.
Yeah, he's in the media. He hosted SNL. I mean, doesn't get much better than that, right?
I did enjoy that episode. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I did enjoy that SNL.
Yeah, Elon's one that I always go for because for some reason he has highly brainwashed our entire society.
I mean, he's got this abnormal swag about him, like this unorthodox swag about him. I think that just...
He's a 50-year-old man that today just tweeted we should rename Twitter to Titter.
I saw that. I thought that was very funny.
That's pretty funny.
He's an idiot.
That's pretty funny.
He's an idiot.
You didn't chuckle a little bit? Just a tiny bit?
All right.
All right. Well,
yeah, he's the one that's in charge of your economy.
In the Seker Factory and everything that you guys are really aiming for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's about time for today, or on this day today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So, Chris, why don't you start us off with On This Day Today? But before we get into that, so for those of our viewers who don't know, On This Day Today is just a little segment that we have where we talk about a current event that happened on this day, but just sometime further back in history. So, Chris, hit us up.
On this day today, are you ready for this?
I don't know, Chris, because you tend to all right, Chris, you tend to go into this. How do I describe it? This shadow realm.
I'm an eternal pessimist.
That's what it is. That's what it is. All right. So depending on what it is, let's hear what it is.
No, this is actually a pretty cool on this day today. On this day today, April 10th, 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first African American to play Major League Baseball for the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Okay.
Brooklyn!
Darker, but in a good way. Okay. I like that.
That special dark.
That special dark.
Yeah.
That's 70% cacao.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
I fuck with the 85%.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo, you're a brave man,
It's
bro.
good for your circulation.
Yeah, they say it's good for the heart. It's good
Yes,
for the
it
heart.
is. So for anybody out there, go dark.
Man, for
You won't regret it.
ladies out there.
Did you guys enjoy the 42 movie?
You know what? I'm kind of embarrassed to say I didn't see it.
You didn't see Chadwick Boseman at his finest?
I didn't see it, man. And I'd beg to differ. I think Chadwick Boswick was at his finest in the James Brown biopic.
Oh, that was good, but I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Yeah? Tiffany says she agrees, and she's hesitant, but she's...
Okay, all right.
So
You a
I
Dodgers
would
fan?
agree with that, even though I have seen both.
Okay,
And
are
I'm
you
a
a Dodgers
massive baseball fan, but he was great in both.
I can't attest to it because I didn't see one of them, but it was a great performance in the James Brown movie. But yeah, today, all those years ago, he was the first. He made history. Mm-hmm. He made history, and he paved the way for the thousands of athletes that we've seen thus far who were, if it been 60 years ago, would have been denied the opportunity.
Absolutely. He was definitely a trailblazer in his own right. So shout out to you, Jackie Robinson. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's from here, but he went to Pasadena Junior College.
He did. Yes,
Yeah, he's a SoCal native. His daughter was born at the Huntington Hospital in Pasadena. Yeah, he's got SoCal roots. Originally, out and about, but he put roots down in Pasadena.
Wow. And he later went on to go to UCLA, and he was the first person to become a four-sport athlete. He was a
Four-sport
real D.
athlete?
Yeah.
So he was the Bo
baseball.
Jackson of his day?
Right, honestly, they might be related. Who knows? You know what I mean? But he lettered in baseball, football, basketball, and track and field.
Wow.
That doesn't surprise me.
True beast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, what's your event for on this day today?
And well, now I feel bad because that's not where I thought that was going, and mine is a little darker than that.
It could be a shipwreck or something.
I mean,
What do you got?
It could be. So today, today is for the Titanic.
Oh, it is a shipwreck.
It is actually a shipwreck. It's like literally a shipwreck. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. So today, in 1912, April 10th, 1912, the Titanic sailed out of Southampton, England, and it was its maiden voyage. So this was like its first time getting out there into the ocean, and people were super excited about it. But little did they know, days after, Leonardo DiCaprio would cause so much damage. So much damage that...
Was it Leonardo DiCaprio?
Okay, so you haven't seen 42. Have you seen Titanic at least?
I've seen it.
Okay,
but it's a long time
Okay,
ago.
did you get to the second videotape? Because there was two tapes. Y'all remember, right? There was two tapes.
Or two VHS.
There's two VHSs.
Box set.
Gen Z's, Google it.
I mean, to be honest, the only thing I remember, the most memorable part of that whole movie was the Celine Dion track. Come on now.
Oh, that was fire in 97.
Shout out to Celine.
I mean, sure, but what about the "Draw Me Like Your French Girl"? Like,
Oh,
that was
yeah,
like,
facts.
that's iconic.
I don't know what the hell that is.
No,
I told it to my wife, and she was like, "What French girl? Let me see her phone." And I was like, "Whoa, hold up, wait, yeah." Then we watched Titanic that night, guys, just to clear my name.
that's funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, and so that's what happened today, and it sparked debates for years to come on whether or not he could have fit on that dress.
Oh, she could have fit on the door. He could have fit on the door.
He could have fit on the door. No.
A million different ways he could have fit on the door. But here's the question, though. It's not about could he fit on the door. The better question is, was the door buoyant enough to hold both of them up?
Good point, honestly.
Was it, though?
Yes, because I used to be a competitive swimmer in high school.
Okay. You got
I'm
an
just
expert here.
telling
I
you,
like that.
there's like a little floaty, what they call a kickboard for when you do drills and stuff. It's like yay big, and you could hold body weight on that. And it's like a whole door. Come on.
But could it
It's
hold-
definitely
yeah, okay.
buoyant.
Yeah. True. Okay.
I'll never bring up that point again, because clearly that now it's mute. Damn it.
Myth busted.
Yeah, it's clear, for real. Did they do that on Mythbusters? Did they actually try to do the door thing? Did they do it?
Right? Yeah.
It should have been. One of those things where it should have been at least top 10 episodes of Mythbusters,
I'm
because
pretty
everyone
sure
YouTubing it at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, we could follow back up with that at a later date, but yeah, I think it might have been an episode. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's a good day in history. I mean, not, but you know what I mean. That's a good fact. Let me change that. It's not a good day in history. It's a good fact.
It's a good
Thank
fact.
you. Sharon.
I mean, another point to that movie, I, to this day, will not get on a cruise ship because of the Titanic.
Really?
I've seen too many TikToks of those like monster waves, and when I see the monster, I'm like, I'm out. You know, the land is good. You know, the local Hilton's not that bad. When you're looking at monster waves, I'm good. I'm gonna hang back over here, a continental breakfast. We'll call it a morning. I'm all right.
Okay. I mean, I would definitely try a cruise just to see what it was like. Hopefully, it doesn't sink, but yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna let that hold me back.
I mean, to me, they have a terrible like track record.
Of singing?
Every year, you hear about at least a few stories in the news that a cruise ship like malfunctioned in the middle of their voyage, toilet stopped working, flooding occurs, and you know it's seldom people die, but you're going to be like stuck at sea for like a couple of days while helicopters come and like rescue everybody. My manager at Abercrombie and Fitch, way back when, he and his girlfriend at the time, they got stuck on a cruise ship, and they said it was the most terrible experience of their lives. Toilets stop working, sewage starts to pile up. You're not gonna have a pleasant experience.
Yeah, can you imagine getting stuck on a cruise ship like that situation? In the same room with somebody you don't like for like a week and a half.
I've known people where they're talking like, hey, we just met. We should go on vacation together.
Right.
It's like, that's a bad idea, but let's do it on a cruise. Oh, we're going 0 to 100.
Terrible idea.
At the end of this cruise, we're going to know if we're going to make it or not.
Or it might bring y'all closer together.
That's what I'm saying. 0 to 100. We can be super close, and we're going to know we're going to love each other. Or at the end of it, be like, nah, man, I'm going back on Bumble.
All right.
Yeah.
On account of the food, like the frozen food melting, you might end up eating each other.
Yeah.
Hey, also 0 to 100. Okay, I'm with it.
Hey, you took it there first. I'm just matching you, bro.
Yeah.
Like the old saying goes, right? Nothing brings you closer together than cannibalism.
Yeah, the Donners love cruises.
That's
Yeah.
how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Brings a whole new meaning to I want you inside of me.
Yeah, that's so that's a great secret. I put that down. It's like I'm down for cannibalism on a cruise. Yeah, that leads me to what I'm here to do is to talk about my show, because I got to do a selfless plug. So my name is Imagine, and one of the shows that I do is called Tell Me a Secret. It's called the Tell Me a Secret podcast, and what we do is
Wait, before you get into that,
okay.
Can you do the theme song? That theme song is fire.
I don't know. That's what I contributed to it. I don't know. Okay, that's all I got. We sampled that. There we go. I put a disclaimer at the beginning of the show, and then we get into the beat, and then the beat is the beat. I don't know.
Well, I like the beat. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it is very catchy.
If you want to know the beat, guys, tune into the show. You'll know exactly what Chris is talking about. Yeah, so it's called Tell Me a Secret, and what we do is we identify and accumulate anonymous secret submissions. People will either send us secrets, we'll go on the interwebs, and we'll find secrets that we know to be wholly true and completely anonymous. So that way we can engage the population with sharing their secrets and sharing what it is that they feel should be ashamed of or embarrassed about. And ultimately, it usually isn't. It's not that bad. You should just share these things. It's not that bad. So what I thought I would do to spicing things up here is share some of the secrets that we get.
Okay.
So we're gonna do Tell Me a Secret podcast on the Browns Room, and you guys get to participate in these secrets. Okay, are you guys ready for the first secret? Okay. I have a drunk alter ego that has her own name.
Interesting.
Yeah, do you guys have your own drunk alter egos? Because if you don't, you're not partying hard enough, clearly.
I mean, honestly, I do for sure. I don't have a name for him, but say I've gone on long nights of drinking, woken up the next day, gone through my phone and my text messages and been like,
who the hell is
whoa,
this?
I got like a whole new level of text game. I'm outright a genius.
Yeah. So you're like Urkel and Urkel. Remember Stefan Urkel? Yeah. You remember.
Stefan
Yeah.
Urkel.
Stefan comes out. That's who it is. That's your.
15 drinks in, absolutely.
There it is. Your new name. Your alter ego is Stefan. When he gets out of pocket, y'all. Stefan. You guys have an alter ego name?
My alter ego name is Passed Out with the Spins on the Floor, usually. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm like Chris. I don't think I have a name for it, but I have a very somewhat adventurous, but also pretty good autopilot, responsible alter ego. So that's why I'm still here today.
That's a great alter ego to have.
Yeah. I wish my alter ego was responsible. He's a jerk.
That's a superpower, I think.
Honestly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Where's that one out? There you go. Okay.
The limitless pill
Next
in
secrets.
liquid form.
Once I told you that I was struggling to control my crazy around you. And you said, why? Just be crazy. That was the most liberating thing anyone has ever said to me. Thank you. I love you.
I love that.
Don't you wish you just had someone that could say, hey, if you just want to walk outside with your underpants on your head, by all means, go right ahead. I love you anyways. We all need that kind of person, right?
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you mean a certain degree? I would love you no matter what, Chris, if you walked out with your underpants on.
So we're gonna rob this bank right now, and
Right.
that's how much I love you, girl.
that can be problematic.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like love brings good crazy. Love like heals the bad crazy, I think.
That's powerful.
As a famous man once said, love will make you do crazy things. Yes.
I don't know if that was love though.
I'll slap the taste out of somebody's mouth for love.
Chris
damn
Rock
it.
would feel different about that.
Chris Rock would have said, "Don't love me so hard."
Don't love me so hard. Oh, man. Okay. Next secret. When you book a hotel room and take your Tinder hookup to dinner, despite what you tell yourself, you are paying for sex. Don't lie to yourself. What's the difference between spending a lot of money on a date with the end goal being sex versus paying for sex? Is there a difference?
I would say so.
Yeah, I mean that's not necessarily a secret. Are we just talking about, how prostitution works?
Yeah, let's get
I
into
mean,
it.
Wow, this is the things we talk about here in the Bronx.
Let's get
yeah,
into
I
it.
mean, I'm one of the firm advocates that sex work should be legalized and that we should destigmatize this idea of women having to go to dark corners to make money. I think it's not healthy.
I agree on that, but in response to your question, if there's a difference between that, I think the difference is that when you directly pay for it, both parties are well aware entering it. Whereas when there's like courting involved and buying a hotel room, it's somewhat 50% wishful thinking because the other party can always back out. I mean, ideally, in both situations, both parties can back up. But I think in the first sense, you kind of know more what you're getting into right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a tough one. This goes down some deep rabbit holes that could lead to some incel stuff. Equality and gender equality, things like that. That's a deep one.
Yeah, and my whole stance is, without getting into the rabbit hole, but it's like it makes it safer, than trying to go down into a rabbit hole. And it goes back to that idea that everybody gets paid, what they deserve, and there's regulation around it, and it's an industry. There are countries that already do it. So I'm gonna just leave it right there. I'm gonna just drop that mic.
And those are the types of conversations that we try to have. So someone submitted this as a secret and said like, oh, I feel bad about it, or I want to talk trash about someone who does. But the ultimate goal of the conversation is to open the conversation up and drive the conversation by having multiple people provide their perspective on it and ultimately illustrate it's not that bad of a secret. You could probably just talk about this openly if people weren't as, like you said, stigmatized and saying, oh, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about, sex, politics, religion, and Jada Pinkett Smith. You can't talk about those things. You can't talk about these things unless you're about to get Chris Rocked. Patent pending. I'm putting that in there. Y'all can use that. Y'all about to get Chris Rocked. Yeah. You're getting rocked now. You're getting Chris Rocked. Okay, I got one more. We're gonna make everyone feel unbelievably uncomfortable.
Hey, let's do it.
Name it again.
Next secret. Let's get weird in the best way possible. I have spent the majority of my life worried about the size of my penis. And I think a lot of men at some point felt like, oh shit, am I packing right? Is this weird? What's going on down there? Is it going to be accepted? And I think a lot of people they question, what they're packing. But, my take has always been, hey, man, you got what you got. That's kind of the end of it. You got to, as the hashtag says, hashtag own your body.
Hey, you gotta be careful, dog. You might be canceled with that type of thinking.
Yeah, just be happy.
It's all about changing your body if you want to. if you want to.
Interesting.
Right. Don't
that's
shame
That means
body.
I'm going from 7 to
changing.
10. Damn it. Hey,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
that 10 and a half.
It's gonna happen. I just need to find the right surgeon. That's all.
Right. What's your take? I want to hear your take.
Yeah, I mean that's a new cancel culture that I hadn't caught up with. Because you normally want to promote being happy with what you're given, but not to the point where it would shame somebody who wanted to change something.
Yeah.
Right. Stop dick shaming out here.
Sheila,
I mean,
I know you out there.
I feel like obviously you want to encourage people being comfortable in their own skin so that whatever choice they make to their body, it's not pressured to if they didn't originally feel compelled to. So I think when it comes to body, it's total autonomy, right? If you want to do that surgery and you feel better about yourself, then fuck it, do it. If you want to learn to love what you're given, that's great. In terms of that question specifically, I think what most guys don't get is that I'm offering female perspective here, being the only one here.
We need that.
But no, it's the confidence behind it. Honestly, if you act like you're good with yourself, that's the biggest turn on. If you're constantly questioning, you can be packing what's considered the perfect size or shape or stuff. You're still going to be so in your head that you can't connect with your partners, and that's just going to take the air out of everything. So.
Yeah, and I identify as a cat girl in VR, so it's really not applicable to me.
I respect that. I respect that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna visit the Cat Girl Lounge after this. Yeah. Again, that's the whole point of it. Is those conversations, whether it be one perspective of cancel culture versus own your body versus no, own what body you want to have, versus you have to own what you've been given, versus the total autonomy perspective, and those are the types of conversations that we have on the show. So Tell Me a Secret is pretty much just going over these types of secrets so we can drive those conversations and, as we say, bring dark secrets into the light together, because no one should have to feel ashamed or embarrassed about what it is that they feel, think, or want to bring into the world. So we drive that show. It's me and my wife, so we have fantastic conversations. And man, we dig deep into our own personal histories and just use it to the perspective that we're bringing. But ultimately, it's just to be inclusive and diverse and being equitable amongst the humans that we're sharing this spaceship with. Yeah.
Amen. That's pretty dope. Yeah. I love the premise of your show, man. I've listened to a couple of episodes, and I'm in love with it. I'm a fan.
Thanks, man. Checks in the mail.
Yes, sir.
Checks in the mail.
It's expected.
Get this money, damn it.
Yes, sir. So, definitely shout out to Tell Me a Secret. And, we came for everybody out there. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to check them out.
That's right. All right, let's get into it. So we got 4 segments today to discuss and get into. 2 from myself, 2 from my co-host.
Yes, sir.
Or who's starting it off? Is it me or you?
You're starting it off.
All right. Well, today, let's talk about my man, Tiger Woods, y'all. Shout out to Chris Rock.
Yes, sir.
He finished the Masters today at Augusta, and he didn't do well. He didn't place within the top 10, but the remarkable feat that he just accomplished was coming back to play after 14 months after sustaining a life-threatening car crash that rendered his left leg, I believe, he almost lost it.
He really did.
He almost lost it about 14 months ago. And many people didn't think that he would ever walk again, let alone play a full Masters tournament. And so I just want to give flowers and tip my hat to that man, because along with accomplishing all the championships and the masters and the green jackets that he's gotten over the years, he's shown us once again why he has the eye of the tiger.
Oh,
Yeah. No pun intended or pun intended?
Pun intended.
oh, definite pun intended. Yeah. Well played. 2 points.
You're right.
Definitely. Now I'm gonna be real. He didn't do well.
No.
You know.
Let's get into it, Chris.
you know-
Let's just make it plain.
He had consecutive rounds where he was 6 over the par. He's previously won 5 times on Augusta, but
These are the Masters. He's won 5 times. He's won the Masters.
at Augusta in particular.
Okay.
At Augusta in particular, but he posted his worst score in 24 Masters appearances as a professional.
Well,
So-
I mean, to me, that's okay because I wouldn't be able to do half that. You know,
Right, same.
Yo, my mini golf scorecard is not that good.
Exactly.
It's terrible.
I'm lucky if I can even swing the golf club sometimes.
Yeah, honestly, I'm terrible at golf. Not good.
Yeah,
Not
so
good at all.
I think that was good for him. I think that it was more of a testament to, it was more of a statement, right? For him saying, look, I'm not out of this yet. Like, I've gone through so much, but I still got the tenacity in me.
Right,
You know,
right.
I'm still going to come back from this. I'm still going to attempt to. And I wish him the best. You know, I really hope that he does. I'm always a sucker for an underdog story.
Same.
You know,
Same.
so I really would really love to see where he takes this.
Yeah, same. And as of right now, it's speculated that he's going to participate in about 3 other Masters before the end of the year. The U.S. Open is in May. There's St. Andrews, the Open at St. Andrews, which is in Scotland, I believe, which is his favorite tournament. He said on the books, it's on the books that he is for sure going to be participating in that in July. And then there's another one that he may participate in June.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, as of right now, for somebody that has like a lot of pins, plates, and screws in his left ankle, he's still hitting the ball on average about 285 yards
That's
each
crazy.
swing or each drive. So
That's
I
insane.
mean, that's incredible to me. I mean, to almost lose your leg and to be able to golf that well. I tip my hat to you, like I said earlier. So he's also dealing with a bunch of back injuries. He got out of surgery not too long ago.
Well, those the back injuries were from him carrying the game of golf for about a decade. I think that he finally went under the knife for that. Yeah. Yeah, it gets heavy sometimes.
Right. I know he's responsible for just so many people who are golf fans today. You know, he's brought a whole range of diversity into that sport from a spectator's point of view. So, you know, tip my hat to Tiger.
Yeah, absolutely. I think me and Imagine, we're talking about going to play some top golf eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Top Golf.
Yeah, shout out to Top Golf. I mean, it's not quite the Masters, but I'm definitely going to channel my inner Tiger Woods when I go.
I'm gonna throw that ball as far as I can because I can't hit for jack. You know, I'm just gonna say, hey, look over there, and then just throw it as far as I can.
Look what I did.
Yeah, look exactly. Y'all can't keep up.
I love it. Yeah. Shout out Tiger Woods. Shout out. I love his tenacity. Yeah, we could all learn something from that. Yeah. Speaking of something that we could possibly learn from in tenacity, people might not agree with this. Our next topic is about someone who's very tenacious, Mr. Elon Musk, and his. I see. Yes, sir.
It's okay. Yeah, I have a few things to say about Elon, but
Oh yeah,
no,
please.
no,
This
go
is
ahead.
the platform.
We ain't even introduced that.
I wouldn't dare interject though. I'm curious to see where you're going with this. This is the Twitter.
Yeah, so this
Okay.
is the Twitter. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know this week, Elon Musk now has the highest share of Twitter. I think it's 9% now.
Yeah, something just over
so
9.
about 9% of Twitter, and he's already talking about making some incredible changes or some insane changes, depending on how you look at it. I want to hear your take. What's your take on Elon?
So yeah, my take on this is that like we as a society are often thinking a lot about ownership in like one person, right? And whenever we hear Elon Musk, we think that there's this like knight in shining armor that keeps saving us from things. You know, Elon Musk buys the largest share of Twitter, and we all think, okay, what great changes is he about to to have, right? What is this man that we see as a social good going to do now with our communication platform? I see it as a danger. I see it as a person that has a grudge against Twitter, a person who's been in trouble with the SEC a few times for the things that they have done on Twitter, about to have ownership over a place that we, the people, use as a communication device, as something that's essential to our lives. And I wonder, why aren't we having the conversation about why don't we own Twitter? Why don't we as the users of Twitter own Twitter? Why is this conversation always about, some billionaire that just bought a large portion of it? And then also it's kind of, none of this really is as important as, what happened as soon as the SEC filing papers were released, and he instantly makes $1.2 billion off of the backs of the people that buy in after everything he buys. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely nobody talks about that. I think that I thought it was a savvy business move. Whether or not it was ethical, right? Whether or not is a different story. But yeah, I definitely thought it was savvy.
It's not, in my opinion, a savvy business move. In my opinion, there's just no wrong moves that Elon could make. He has a population that will follow him. He could buy literal horse dung, and the whole world will just buy horse dung, and he'll make $1 billion off of it.
For real.
Yeah.
That's
A lot of people compare that to Dogecoin.
Exactly. No, honestly, that's exactly correct. Like, as a cryptocurrency expert, you should not be purchasing Dogecoin. It's a meme coin. Purchase it for fun. Yeah. If you just want to meme around, if you just want to send some Shibas to your friend, yeah. But it's not something to invest in. And that's actually case in point. Exactly what I just said. This man is dangerous. He goes around and he buys up things that are not healthy, and he convinces you to follow after him so he can make money off of you. He's a Ponzi schemer.
So I currently have 15 grand in Dogecoin. Should I not?
Yikes.
No, I'm just playing. I don't know enough about it. Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I
It's
mean,
pennies.
yeah, mechanically, like Dogecoin, when it was created, it had, there's a block reward in cryptocurrencies. Whenever you mine, you're rewarded for that effort of keeping the network secure with the currency itself. And Dogecoin was created in Jackson Palmer, I believe is his name, is in like his mom's basement in like Illinois or Iowa or something like this.
Wait. And this is just pure ignorance on my part. Wait, Elon Musk didn't create Dogecoin?
Oh, not even close.
What?
No,
Oh,
it was
man,
a guy living in his mom's basement in the Midwest, and
as a joke.
as not even a funny joke. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the block reward was random. So, whenever you're talking about economic theory, the very first thing you talk about is supply and demand. So they were hyperinflating the supply. Some block could have 1 Dogecoin as a reward. Some block could have 15 trillion Dogecoin as a reward. So it's a hyperinflated currency. It can't have value on the books unless they did some serious things to fix that. And they did fix that block reward, to be fair. They fixed that in 2019. But of course, at that point, damage is already done. There's tons of coins floating around the network. And then, big whales like Elon can come in and make a move and then tell you to follow after him and then dump on you. This is just pretty much how.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is economics 101. This is pump and dump groups. These are things that I learned from being heavily involved in cryptocurrencies for so many years. Yeah.
Okay. It's good to know that we have an expert on the podcast today. Yeah, that is definitely I want to research more into and look more into.
But I'm happy to hear other people's thoughts on Elon. So I'll pass the mic.
I mean, one question I have is that sounds like a compelling argument, but when you take into account that this is America and a person has freedom of speech, how do you strip somebody of that freedom of speech, regardless of what impact it has? People are autonomous and individuals free to do what they want to do. If he wants to say something on Twitter, can we take that right from him?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, that's been proven you can, right?
Well, not even can we, should we? And the answer is absolutely. Why? Because people are stupid, and people will believe what they shouldn't believe. If it's in a shiny gold Wonka paper ticket, wrapping paper, they'll buy that shit. And we should have some amount of institutions that have some level of baseline protection for the consumer that should prevent predatory use of these channels that they know are effective. Elon's over here saying, "Oh, I'm just having a good time on Twitter," winkety wink, But that type of baseline should be there. Can we have the ability to say absolutely ignorant things if that's what we truly believe? Absolutely, that is the freedom of speech. But if that freedom of speech is in direct conflict with the public good, as what we've seen with a lot of the COVID censorship, if you will, on social media, I feel that that's a necessary baseline. Hey, you can say whatever the hell you want about COVID, but here's the science. Science is facts. Well, I don't know about the science. Okay, sure. But we as a community have agreed that science is facts. So I'm going to attach this little science nugget onto your post. And as a privatized company, they have the ability to do so. So the concern being that Elon purchased the majority stake of a privatized company with the full intention of manipulating it so that way he doesn't get in trouble anymore. So I didn't break any rules because I wrote the rules. That's an absolute concern. And as far as idolizing Elon Musk, hey man, I like Tony Stark. I like Tony Stark at all. And I dig SpaceX. I'm a huge fan of SpaceX. I dig Hyperloop. I use PayPal. So I mean, I like the tenacity of Elon Musk. I like his drive. I like his vision. I like all that jazz. I want to go to Mars. Send me up, Scotty. But at the same time, there should be some measures of accountability. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Say what you want, but you got to be held accountable. Otherwise, you're gonna get Chris rocked.
So what does that accountability look like? Is that regulation, or is that in that specific space? Is that like the financial space, right? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm thinking like the SEC keeping that amount of regulation over the financial aspect. When it comes to freedom of speech, people just got to be smarter. People got to be asking questions. You have to just not follow blindly someone, because then you end up with a dictatorship type of situation. So as long as you're intelligent and asking questions, we should be okay.
I mean, but there's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
I apologize.
Actually, I say Chris goes first.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
I think when it comes to speech, right, there's already regulation in place, specifically in America, about what you can and cannot say, right? Like specifically when it comes to the selling of goods, for example, right? Mm-hmm. So remember when you had back in the day, well, I mean, none of us were alive, but they used to sell snake oil, right? And you'd be like, oh, this is
super effective.
Cure, whatever.
I drank that daily.
Praise the Lord. That's until people who did not know any better, mm-hmm. or you can call it whatever you want. Maybe they didn't think for themselves, or maybe they truly believed in the snake oil.
Sure.
They were being taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is precedence to say, we can put some form of regulation on speech if it leads directly to the harm of others, like yelling fire in the theater.
Yeah, the quintessential example. Right. Chris, really what do you say?
No, that's a really good point. But I would also argue that you made the point that if a community decides that this is detrimental to us, then we have to regulate it. Mm-hmm. But you have two different sectors, or two different factions of society, of the community, the national community, that might not agree with that. Mm-hmm. And then when you have that as reality, then you can't push forward on regulation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where my personal stance of education in the public realm is supremely stressed. Public education is supremely underfunded, understaffed, undervalued, underrespected, and there should be a huge push for public education. Not just better books and better computers. We're talking about better lesson plans, better agenda, better itinerary, better teachers. There just needs to be a better system that is completely failing the community of humans. At least speaking for the United States of America, we should have a better foundation, because everything else beyond comprehension, understanding, knowledge, intelligence, wisdom, all of that stems from what you learned from a wee little guy. And I feel like if we're not setting people off on the right foot, they're destined to fall for the snake oil. They're destined to fall for Elon Musk. They're destined to fall for Trump. They're destined to fall for whoever's in line. Trump, Biden, whoever you want to believe is the evil incarnate. But ultimately, we're just buying what they're selling instead of walking up to the lemonade stand and saying, what kind of lemons you got in here? We should be asking the questions first as an intelligent and informed consumer and an informed citizen. And I think we have too many uninformed citizens.
And that's my whole stance, is that there shouldn't necessarily be a regulation on what somebody can or cannot say. It's up to the individual to decide whether you believe in that or not. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
I mean, I think it just gets into too much of a gray zone to say, like, this person can say something or he can't say something, but this person can.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, it just gets into too murky of an area for us to, like, there's no defined regulation on it. It's just that, like, oh, this dude is having too much influence. We got to cut him out. You know what I mean? Like, where does it say that in the rule book?
You're
know
right.
What I mean?
You're right.
That's all I'm saying.
No, you're right.
Because I think you can get into dangerous grounds when you start kind of just abstractly or arbitrarily making rules for somebody individually versus like having a standard set of rules, which we already have. It's called the Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, whenever it's like on financial things, it's pretty clear. You can't shill without telling people what you're shilling for. These things are very simple cases. But there's something called the paradox of intolerance, where if you allow freedom of speech to run wild, then eventually the freedom will override the ability to have free speech. You can have too much free speech to the point where it drowns out freedom of speech. So it's it's not always.
Example of that?
What's that?
Can you state an example of that?
So having a louder microphone in a crowd potentially, and saying it's their free speech to have a louder microphone, or especially when it comes to like a company being able to sponsor a politician with things like super PACs, right? So what we're saying is that a company has freedom of speech, but a company has a louder freedom of speech than I do, and I am not able to ever have my voice heard. And this is a bit of a paradox of intolerance, where we're tolerating free speech to the point where I don't even have freedom of speech anymore.
That's something that's not regulated against, though, right now, currently. I'm assuming that you're against that, right?
Yeah, so Citizens United, I mean, yes, to his point, if the goal is to be the loudest person in the room to get your point across, that is an effective strategy. But if you have a collective who is louder than everyone else, then everyone else is no longer heard, ergo, their freedom of speech has become mute. So I guess the ultimate destination with regulation is to ensure that there's a level of fairness across the board, not to take away anyone's freedom of speech, but just to ensure that it still remains level. Because, like to his point, the super PAC, this corporation, this PAC has our united voices. That's what it is. Citizens United. As a united voice, we are saying we are in favor of this candidate. Okay, but me and my grassroots campaign in Southeast LA, we're trying to vote for our candidate, but we can't keep up with that kind of money. And the money talks, and money's talking way louder than I possibly can.
So is it fair to say that the SEC is doing a better job at regulating characters and figures like Elon Musk than the legislative body of this country is doing against extremely rich people in voting or contributing to political campaigns?
No, they both suck. Yeah, I'm not going to say
so
one.
Although the SEC has been regulating Elon Musk, they still have room for improvement. Because they have been regulated.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone has room for improvement. I think that's what is lost upon a lot of the citizens of the country, is that the United States of America is fluid. The Constitution is not in stone. The Constitution, well, I mean, we can drink, we can't drink. A few years later, we can drink again. And that was within a decade's time, maybe 5 years' time. Someone fact check me. But I mean, it's so fluid, and we can continuously change the country as we see fit, and these regulatory bodies should be active towards that baseline fairness. And if for any reason that baseline fairness is out of whack, then it becomes the fault, to me, of the citizens. But I'm not going to entirely fault the citizens, because what did the system do to educate those citizens? How did they know? None of us took, a finance literacy course. We all took fucking algebra too. I don't know the FOIL method anymore. I know FOIL method though. Shout out FOIL method. Hey, but I mean, I'm just saying that those types of things that we didn't find of value, but want to get into the rabbit hole of social construct and blah blah blah. But ultimately, the system failed its citizens in preparing them of how to engage. Does anyone remember taking their civics class?
I actually don't think I took civics.
Exactly.
I think I took economics.
You took economics because they wanted. I'm going down the rabbit hole. Anyways, but I'm just saying that ultimately the system has failed the citizens to put on their thinking cap instead of a tinfoil hat, and that is what ultimately has faulted us as citizens of the country. So when we're talking about regulatory bodies, they all suck. But that's because we've enabled them to take advantage of the system that they run. Congress corrupt, the SEC corrupt, IRS, whoever you want to throw out there, they're just not doing their job. But it's not just because it just happened that way. Someone in the room was like, I can fix this. And then they did. And then flash forward a few decades, and here we are.
Yeah. The only reason that I'm harping on this subject, and I've been trying to shift the conversation towards us thinking more openly, is that Twitter has not only allowed figures like Elon Musk to speak freely, but it's also shut down other people who have gotten their rights, their freedom of speech stripped arbitrarily.
Like who?
Donald Trump.
Okay.
Now, are you guys in agreement with that? That although he might have been saying some unsavory things, he may have been taken out of Twitter prematurely?
I think it's too late.
It's too late.
I think a number of things where he would cross a particular line was in violation of the contract of the private company Twitter, but even more so, they were completely taken out of line from person-to-person agreement. Like, dude, you can't say that about people, bro. You can't do that. But if the entire community, 51% says, Donald Trump can say that, then he can say that. That's just the consensus of the people. Regardless of our personal feelings, the consensus of the people is consensus of the people. When you bet on the people win. But the people can be wrong. They can make really bad decisions.
Right, like you said, if they're dum-dums,
yeah,
and they're poorly educated,
yeah,
they can make the wrong decision and really steer the ship into uncharted territory where we might not be able to make it back to shore.
Right, and
that's my whole thing is like, okay, we can regulate if that's what the consensus is, but we're going into some murky waters where we might not be able to turn the ship back around.
So you're more of a proponent of education then, I'm assuming.
1,000%, 100%. That's where we're in agreement. So I don't think it should be blind regulation is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I think maybe, is there a middle ground? Do you regulate until people can become more educated?
Good question.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically, we could. Like, we got to, we'll have a 20-year hiatus on free speech until the next generation is ready to actually make some sound decisions.
When you talk about like let's test out some regulation, let's put a timeline on it, and let's see how it goes, and let's reevaluate at the conclusion of the said timeline. A great example for me, going into gun advocacy, gun rights, and whatnot. The assault weapon ban. That was for 10 years. After 10 years, we were able to see that there was a clear, distinct cause and effect, that during the ban, there was much less assault weapon.
Was that something that actually took place?
Yes.
Federally or just in the state?
Federally. Federal assault
When
weapon
did
ban.
that happen?
I think it expired in the Bush era, if I'm not mistaken. It was enacted during the Clinton administration and expired in the Bush administration. And they were trying to, well, not during the Bush administration, but during the Obama administration, they wanted to bring it back, but he lost control of the House and the Senate after 2 years. He focused on healthcare instead of gun control, but I digress.
Interesting.
But there was a direct correlation of the ban being effective. And now they're saying we should bring back the ban. And of course, all the gun right advocates are saying, no, we can't do that. But to your point, let's test it out.
Right.
Let's look at the facts at the end of it and see what's what.
That's a great middle ground. I like that.
It failed. So, I mean, that's where we're at as well, because people is people. But for me, I think we'll take the loss. Let's just start from scratch by investing in public schools, public education, making sure the kids don't go hungry during lunch, making sure the kids are taken care of after school. You know, parents got to go to work. You know, we'll unpack that lemon, you know, way down the line. But right now, let's take care of these kids now. The ones starting pre-K now. That type of starting line, let's start there. We can't fix everything that we've messed up. But, you know, the fourth graders, third graders, sorry, guys, you kind of messed it up. But let's at least fix where we're hemorrhaging. Instead of putting a Band-Aid on a throat slit, let's do some true triage to the situation. And that's where I feel like that's where our starting line should be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a wonderful middle ground, actually. I think that's a great place, like you said, to start. A wonderful middle ground that everybody should be able to come together on. But speaking of middle ground, I think we're going to take that as a great segue into our next segment. And I think everybody's going to like this. This is what we like to call Chris versus Chris. Chris, why don't you break down Chris versus Chris for us?
Chris versus Chris is when Chris McKinley and Chris Reese square off in a 12-round bout.
Heavyweight champ of the world.
Or until somebody is knocked out, laid out cold on the ring.
And spoiler alert, it's usually Chris.
Right, man. I'm going for a knockout today. So, Chris, why don't you introduce the topic?
Absolutely. Today we got a very juicy topic, and this one comes from Reddit. Comes from the Am I the Asshole?
I love this Reddit. Yeah,
absolutely. Everybody
great
loves
thread.
that one. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So here's the question: Am I the asshole for switching from non-dairy to dairy milk and inadvertently making my flatmate shit herself in an interview? That's
okay. So in the story, though,
Right.
Yeah.
So the details of the story are as such. One roommate has a lactose intolerance, but she is always drinking the non-dairy milk that the other roommate purchases.
Chris,
like without asking, without replacing, and she does it so much that it's really getting on the other roommate's nerves.
Yeah, she gets tired of it.
So, you know, coincidentally or intentionally, I wasn't really able to read through this article to see, like, what the intention behind it was. But the roommate that was purchasing the milk to begin with switched back to dairy. And as a result, the roommate that was not being as courteous drank the milk, went on to an interview, a very important interview that day, and ended up shitting herself in the interview.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, I can see both sides of this.
Can you?
I can. I definitely can.
Okay.
But, I mean, honestly, I'm going to say that the purchaser of the milk was being real petty.
Really?
You know?
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if you...
so
if
they were
you're-
not
if you're a
justified, is what
roommate-
you're saying. They should have not done that.
They should have made the roommate aware of the switch.
Okay. That's the position.
All right.
Got it.
So now you see the stances.
There was not a conversation. As far as I read into this article, there was not a conversation
There was
about...
not.
Okay.
She switched it out. However, it was clearly labeled dairy milk, right? It was clearly labeled.
That's true.
right? So, I mean, we're going back to education.
Yeah. Blame the education system. She can't read.
You know what I'm saying? If something got a cow on it, you know it's not coming from almonds, bro.
Nah, man. Because say they've been living together for like 2 years, say 3 years, okay? And every single time there is non-dairy milk in that refrigerator. And my roommate knows that I have an extreme dairy intolerance.
Okay.
There should.
Now, is it extreme though? I mean,
She shit herself. That's
shoot
pretty extreme.
herself during an interview.
okay, but did she die though? right, I think that's where that should go.
She died of shame and embarrassment.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I'm expecting a
She
secret in my
recovered from that
inbox
one.
any day now.
She's not coming back from that one.
I mean, yeah.
There will be no second interview.
I mean, I feel like I probably could have finessed my way out of that interview.
Me too.
Right?
I've been in situations like that before.
I've never shat
well,
on myself.
Where I was close is what I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, I don't know exactly how it would have went. I can only imagine how it went. And to me, it kind of sort of went like you asked me what my weakest quality is, and then I kind of just shat myself. Like, that's a great example. Why don't I show you?
Look at this great party trick I can do.
Yeah, and then I could have
getting
figured out a
hired.
way to, in adversity, I can make a comeback.
All right.
That's talent.
Yeah, I like that.
So is she the asshole?
I say no.
I say she is for sure. She's an asshole. The
Yes,
purchaser.
The purchaser of the milk. Is she the asshole? What is your take?
Hold on. Is that your final argument?
That she-
Because our hosts and our guests are going to be the judges of who wins.
This is true. This is true. Yeah. Let
So
me
make
let
your
me
argument
my
strong.
argument. Okay.
Make your argument strong.
So here's my argument, right? So you're stealing my milk, right? You
Is it stealing?
what would you call it?
I would say that she was
Borrowing indefinitely?
She was borrowing the milk, although she never replaced it.
Even though she said she did on multiple
She said she
occasions.
would.
Yes,
she
exactly.
didn't
Excuse
lie
me.
and say that she did.
Correct.
She lied and said that she would.
Yes,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
didn't do it.
So it's kind of like that one friend that's like, "Yo, let me borrow $1. I give it back to you," but never gives it back to you.
Right.
You know
But
what
at
I'm
a certain point, you as an autonomous person need to decide like, hey, I'm not going to trust this person to do what they say anymore.
Exactly.
And have a conversation, like have it up front.
Okay.
And then you guys can go your separate ways.
I love that.
But to pull some petty shit like that,
Okay.
no pun intended,
Okay. All right.
and sneak in a dairy-filled milk cartridge, that's not fair. Or
Now,
carton, that's not fair. Dog.
Here's my ace in the hole
not
right
fair.
here. So your entire argument is based off of the fact that they should have had a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Right? If you read back to the article, they had several conversations about it. And it came to a point where the lactose intolerant roommate was like saying that you're taking this too far. It's not a big deal. I don't care if I'm stealing your milk. It's just milk. So at what point do you say enough is enough? And it never goes into whether or not she did it on purpose, right? Whether or not she says she was trying to make her shit on herself.
Right. And,
Right.
and why do you think that is?
Because we have to give her the
because she
benefit of
knows
the doubt,
she's
Chris.
wrong.
We gotta give her the
She's
benefit of
She
the doubt.
knows she's wrong. She didn't want to. She wanted to get the readers of this article on her side.
Mm-hmm.
So she said like, "Oh, I forgot that she was severely lactose intolerant." Like, come on now. Like, if you just be real. Like, if you did it on purpose, say that, and I would be much more likely to side with her.
I get
and
it.
like, okay, she had a problem and she dealt with it. But for her to say that she's totally innocent of this is where I'm siding with the other roommate that shot herself.
Now, in the spirit of middle ground, right? I'm gonna say
There can
okay,
only be
yes.
one winner of this. No middle ground.
Oh well, then if that's the case, bruh, gloves on.
Gloves off.
Yo, she's not the asshole. She could have gave her a heads up. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But she's still not an asshole. It was in her autonomous right to switch out her own milk.
True, very
Right?
true, very
And
true.
it was in the other person's autonomous responsibility to check whatever the hell you about to put in your body.
That's true.
You know what I
That's
mean?
true. But if I know that you, as my roommate, drink nothing but non-dairy milk,
And you're
I'm not
some
going to
sort
be
of-
checking it.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be scheming off my milk like that, bro.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
like-
That's true. Now, I will say this as my final argument. Okay, she could have done that maybe 2 months into the issue of her getting her non-dairy milk stolen from. She could have just switched to dairy milk and been like, okay, since we can't agree on this issue, I'm just going to start purchasing dairy milk from now on. Now that
Don't touch my shit.
you've been warned. That's
Well, she warned her, bro. This was a hell of a warning. I guarantee you she's not going to touch her milk no
yeah.
more.
It wasn't a warning shot. It was a shot in the kneecap.
Hey, that's a warning. It wasn't a chest.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, guests and hosts, who do y'all think won that segment of Chris versus Chris?
You can just say Chris.
Ooh, that's a hard one. So my first question was, did they have a conversation? Because I agree, if this was like the first time she like kept it to herself and like stuffed it down and never actually voiced her, disagreement with the situation and just swapped that, is a little petty.
Yeah.
But if they had the conversation, I kind of think it's fair game. And it doesn't even really, in my opinion, seem intentional. It's her milk. Nobody
got
says
one
you
for
gotta
Chris.
be roommates and share everything. In college, I lived with 5 other girls in a 2-bedroom apartment, and everything was labeled. Like, some things were free for all for everybody in the apartment, and then certain things were just like your own thing. So, also, she could have read the label.
could have
So
read the
that's my take.
Yeah, I'm going to say that the person in the position of power here is the asshole. Like, I mean, obviously it's like, read the damn label, like, come on. But, I mean, you're the roommate. You probably know your roommate's dumb enough to not read labels. You should be taking care of people around you.
Okay. All right. It's even.
1-1.
Now imagine.
Yeah.
Let's play top golf now.
It comes down to
Talk about
one
regulation.
one simple thing.
Like that free speech right there. He's trying to.
It comes down to one
influence this
simple
thing.
thing, that if the purchaser of the milk, if she did this one thing, she's not the asshole. If she did not do this one thing, she is an asshole. If she did not warn the other person, I switched to milk.
She didn't warn her.
If she, you can have the conversation, hey man, stop taking my milk. Hey man, stop taking my milk. And then one day the milk switches, then you're an asshole. If it's like, hey, stop taking my milk, stop taking my milk. Hey, I switched the milk, then you're not an asshole. If she provided the warning, she's not an asshole. Something tells me this pettiness, I'm going to say she probably did not warn her, and that makes her an asshole.
Yeah, not once did it mention, and actually, I think it states the obvious that she didn't warn her that she switched the milk. So,
Asshole.
I guess Chris wins on this one. So, thank you guys so much. Appreciate that.
You know, I think I might be 3-0. I think so. But then again, we haven't had any judges to
exactly.
weigh in on our debates.
So I will, I'll give you an even 2-1. How about that? How about that?
All right. Well, we'll come back to the segment next episode, and you'll see me go 3.
Fair enough. All right, Chris, hit us with our next topic, man.
So my second topic for this week is in regard to the NFL. They, matter of fact, it's in regard to the Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll on a call/meeting between the league. He went in on the NFL owners for not following up on their mandate to have more diversity in terms of head coaches, offensive coordinators, and defensive coordinators league wide. And so he was saying that the owners are really not going. Nothing's going to change unless the owners start intentionally aiming to change things and to seek coaches who do not look like them. One famous case right now that is going around is that Eric Bieniemy, who's the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs.
What is his name?
Eric Bieniemy.
Okay. I thought you said Eric the Enemy.
No.
He is to some people.
That's like a sick rap name, no?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Eric the Enemy. I like that.
He about to
He can't
be.
get a head coaching job to save his life, although he's been with the Kansas City Chiefs, their offensive coordinator, for about 10 years now. And
Is he a black man?
he is a black man.
Okay.
And he got the Chiefs to two Super Bowls in the past 3 years.
Interesting.
But he can't even get an interview with a lot of different organizations.
Yeah.
And the progression to head coach is assistant coach, offensive coordinator. You do a good job as an offensive coordinator. Teams around the league fire their head coaches. They interview offensive coordinators that have been doing particularly well. This man can't even get an interview.
Question. So how many teams are there in the NFL?
32.
32. And how often are coaches replaced?
There's at least 3 or 4 firings, I would say, per year.
What's the percentage of that?
4. That's one of.
I was told there'd be no math.
16%. I think that's about 16%
Okay.
every year. There's openings.
So he has a 16% chance every year to get a job, to get a head coaching job. That's a
I don't know if his chances are 16%, but 16% of the total positions, head coaching positions, open up.
yeah. So you only have
You have at least that much of a chance.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
But yeah, so I mean, one of the biggest topics is that the Rooney Rule, which was put into place, I think, in 2000, was a mandate that required all NFL teams to at least interview minority head coaches or minorities for head coaching positions. 20 years later, or 22 seasons later, it's resulted in, I think there's 3 black head coaches around the league, coaches of color. There's Juan Rivera, who coaches for the Washington Commanders,
That's a team?
formerly known as the Redskins.
Oh right. Yeah.
Can't say Redskins.
Case in point about changes that need to be made around the league. Juan Rivera, Mike Tomlin. We all know about Brian Flores, who was just fired from the Miami Dolphins after posting 2 winning seasons in a franchise that's been horrific over the past couple of decades.
Fair enough.
He's now taken the NFL to court in a civil suit. And I'm trying to think if there's any other. There might be one more that I'm not thinking about, but there's only 3 out of 32 teams in 20 years. Now, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Now, the new Rooney Rule has put into place a mandate that not only do you have to interview minority coaches for these head coaching positions, but you also have to hire assistant coaches that work hand in hand with offensive coordinators. Because, as I said, the progression usually goes offensive coordinator, head coach. Now, in my opinion, I think that's a little bit too little, too late.
Let me get something straight though before we get into that. So it doesn't have anything to do with race, right? By minority, we're not just specifically talking about blacks. We're talking about minorities.
And that's another issue.
Right.
That's another issue.
Okay.
Now, the whole issue is, where the issue is rooted in is that there's a huge disparity between a league that's predominantly played by black players and coached by very few black coaches.
Okay.
Now, that's the issue. That's the root issue. Now, the solution thus far has been to hire more minority coaches, but that doesn't necessarily pinpoint the issue of there being a disparity between black players and black coaches that represent those players.
So what's the solution? What's the course?
I think a pinpoint solution should be a mandate of hiring black coaches, not just minority coaches.
I don't agree with that.
I already know you don't.
I don't agree. I'm sorry.
But we're going to talk about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, this is a reflection of an issue that happened long ago. Maybe I'll talk about it, maybe I won't. But the issue is, say, hypothetically speaking, this is very hypothetical, that the issue is solved by getting more minorities involved in the coaching positions. But if it's all, let's just say hypothetically, Latino coaches that end up getting hired, did that really fix the issue that was the main issue to begin with?
If the Latino coaches know what they're doing and the players feel like, and it depends on what you mean by disparity. So what do you mean by disparity? Disparity in what sense?
I believe the league is about 60% black players.
Okay.
And about matter of fact, I do.
So you're looking for diversity. So you're not saying it's got to be all black, it's got to be all white, it's got to be all Latino. You're looking for it's got to be diverse across the board amongst people that.
No, I'm arguing that if the issue is to fix the disparity of black players and with the lack of black coaches.
Why is that an issue?
Because it alludes to the point that a black person is good enough to play, but not good enough to lead a team.
But you don't have to hire only black players in order to elucidate your point.
Players or coaches?
Excuse me, coaches.
I think that's exactly what I'm saying.
No, I think you can hire across the board, right, and make it fair for all, and then whoever comes out.
So are you talking about like?
But note my hypothetical example. Say, for instance, if it's minorities, just hypothetical. If you hire all gay white males to coach your team, have you fixed the issue?
No.
You've diversified the ranks for sure, and I'm all for diversity. I love it. But as far as making a rule, if you're going to make a rule, let's make a rule that specifically fixes the exact issue.
But you haven't fixed the issue because you've made it more diverse. You haven't made it more diverse. You simply traded out one monolith for another. You traded out all white coaches for all white gays.
Yeah.
So that doesn't fix your issue of diversity.
Exactly.
You just change.
I'm saying by not making a specific rule, you leave the door open for there to be a change, but not a change in the direction that you were really going for.
I think what you're looking for is maybe, and I don't agree with quotas either, but maybe a quota, I think is what you're more looking for. So a quota on the specific, and it has to be a specific number based on the percentage of teams there are, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm actually going to go Nathan's route and say, fuck that system. I'm going to start the XFL. I'm going to go do that instead.
Hey,
what does the XFL do differently?
I don't know, but it's not the NFL. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna give. For me, like, okay, you with the NFL or any major sports franchise, you have all these representation concerns, and all valid, absolutely. But change is not going to happen with an organization that centralizes themselves and their focus on money. The Redskins didn't change their name until the money was affected. Representation is not going to change until you go after the wallet. If you want to go after, the national anthem, you want to go after representation, they don't care about any of that. They care about the money. As soon as FedEx got involved with the Washington Redskins conversation, they weren't the Washington Redskins no more.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, FedEx was a major sponsor, and the major sponsor said, "Hey, man, you got to change the name." They're like, "Oh, yeah, we'll change the name. Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure the money keep coming.
Yes, sir.
Just make sure the money." Yeah, exactly. It's the money. Until the money is affected, nothing's going to change. So when you're talking about representation, you're talking about Colin Kaepernick, you're talking about national anthem, you're talking about anything corporate related, nothing going to change until the money's affected, i.e. crypto. The money's affected. I know what I'm talking about sometimes, guys. I know what I'm talking about sometimes.
Bring that around.
Yeah, not until in America, no one cares about nothing until the money's affected. No one cares about education in this system because the money's flowing. As soon as your workers are too dumb to do anything and they can't keep up with the skyrocketing education and knowledge taking place in other cultures, i.e. China, we ain't gonna do nothing about it. But if you flash forward about 10, 15 years and the superpower dynamic changes because of education and the money's affected, then we're going to revisit a lot of things. And guess what? A lot of people are going to be taking Kuman because that's just what's going to be in the future for a lot of folks. I think it goes back to the NFL too. If you want to see diversification, you got to affect the money. You tell the sponsors, hey, your sponsorship is directly supporting a racist systemic problem in the NFL. What are you going to do about it? FedEx, and then FedEx is going to be like, yeah, you're right. And then we see change. So I mean, that's I feel like the clear-cut pathway to seeing change. But as far as the argument, as far as diversifying, that's a whole other can of worms, like you guys were just pointing out. Okay, well, diversifying. Are you talking about we've agreed that we need 3% Asian population to be head coaches. We also agreed upon 5% population being Latino background, and then we need 20% black background because majority of the players are black as well. We've agreed that on the Players Association, that is what we find agreeable terms. And that's not going to happen because the Player Association is only effective for so long, i.e. Colin Kaepernick. There's not going to be much change until the money's affected. I guarantee if everyone stopped tuning into the NFL, if everyone stopped buying the tickets, stopped buying the merch and say, we're not playing nothing until Colin gets a shot on a team, one of those teams is going to put that fool on the field. I guarantee it.
And that's what I'm all in favor of, man. I want to see Kaepernick with a helmet and shoulder pads on playing in the NFL again.
Yes, sir.
Unless one of those owners are really, really willing to rock the boat, it's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Although there was a recent push by, who was it? Ocho Cinco? Who wanted him to come to the, the Players League? Or, excuse me, the Fans League?
Oh, no, that was Anthony Brown. Yeah, Anthony Brown. Antonio Brown. Yeah, Antonio Brown wants Kaepernick to play.
Yeah, I mean, I think at least he'd be playing.
Yeah, but it doesn't address the initial issue of him being blackballed from the NFL.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
agree with that wholeheartedly.
So, I mean, the Seahawks might be giving him a shot because Pete Carroll, as we just stated in this story, is trying to rock the boat in terms of just making his voice known on this issue. And so he might be the coach that actually gives Kaepernick a chance.
We'll see, but at the very least, diversification all around. So I hope they make it happen. Hope they make it happen.
I truly hope so because all the symbolic victories, all these symbolic victories of putting like end racism in the end zone, that don't do nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you put whatever you want on the helmet.
Right. What are you actually doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what we want to see. So we'll see. We shall see if the Rooney Rule and its new modifications actually bring about some change. And when it does, or if it doesn't, we'll be talking about it here on the Bronze Room. That's right.
Chris, I'm half expecting you to come out with, "We shall overcome."
Nah. We moving on to some Kendrick. Like, we gonna be all right. We gonna be all right.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yes, sir. So the final conversation of the night is about Chris Brown and his beautiful baby girl that he has just welcomed.
Now what the hell did he do?
He had a baby. Yeah, his third baby girl. Her name is Lovely. So he just welcomed into the world 3 months ago. We're very, I guess the world is very excited.
Joy to the world.
Yeah, joy to the world. Anytime a new life comes into the world, that's a good thing.
Not when it's the 12th kid. I digress on that one.
Wait, what happened?
Not if it's the 12th kid.
Yeah, fair enough.
Talking to you, Nick Cannon.
Does he have 12?
Cut it, fool.
I thought it was 9.
I don't know. It's too.
This is too many.
If you have your own baseball team, it's too many, bro.
My parents had 9
Hit him
kids.
with it, Chris.
My parents had 9 kids. I'm number 7.
Hey, that's too many. I stand by my statements.
10 kids.
My great grandmother had 7 kids. Too many.
Fair enough.
I'm not gonna.
If it wasn't for that woman pushing out 7,
Yeah,
you wouldn't be here.
I said what I said.
I stick by it. All right, on that note, I want to say one more thing. I actually had a homie whose grandparents had 15 kids.
15?
15. And he asked them, he was like, "Yo, Grandpa, why did you have so many kids?" And the grandpa was like, "Well, back in the day, when you had a disagreement with your neighbor, you settled it by shooting one of his kids."
Damn.
Right? And whoever
That's
had the
very
last
Old
kid
Testament, bro.
won that dispute. So Man, that's
They got down different back then.
It really did though. It was gangster. They didn't.
So
go
it wasn't out of love. It's because you had a stockpile. Had to check inventory by the end of the weekend, you know?
So I say that to say there might be some goodness in having so many kids.
That's one of the things we can rewrite in the Constitution. Like, hey, we can stop doing this now. Stop killing kids. Wow.
Yeah, some utility in it. All right. So let's go ahead and end out the podcast. Chris, why don't you hit me with your vibe of the week before we get out of here?
My vibe of the week, I have two vibes of the week. I know I did this last episode.
That's all right.
I got two
I'm seeing
vibes
a
of the
pattern.
week, man. My first vibe of the week goes out to Wesley Snipes and White Man Can't Jump. I just rewatched that movie.
Yes.
I just rewatched that movie
Yes, sir.
and completely fell in love with it all over again.
Absolutely.
Now, the first time I saw it, I was a little prepubescent boy, and a lot of the material and content went over my head, but rewatching it as a grown-ass man, I have a newfound appreciation for it.
Got a newfound appreciation for Rosie
Really good
Perez.
movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
great movie.
Rosie Perez fucking was phenomenal in it. She was. Oh my God, she was
fine.
She was fine.
Absolutely, bro.
Woody Harrelson, which I looked up some trivia. He actually played college basketball, and on set, he was clear. It was no contest who was the better basketball player between him and Wesley Snipes.
Really?
Now you couldn't tell that based on how they cut it.
Right.
But if you really look, Woody Harrelson.
Yeah,
can
a
ball.
mean crossover, you know?
He got a mean crossover, boy. Like, he dropping dimes and everything. But I totally fell in love with that film. My second vibe of the week goes out to Bruce Lee.
Interesting.
I watched my very first Bruce Lee film ever this Thursday. This past Friday.
What film was it?
And it was his last film. And the name is escaping me. I'm kicking myself in the butt. But it was like The Game of Death, I believe.
Okay.
Game of Death, where he goes into the pagoda, right? And he has 3 levels of masters that he has to face. Oh. And each time that he defeats a master, he ascends to the next level and fights another one. And all leading up to the final master, who is none other than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That
Yes,
was one of the
sir.
sickest scenes I've ever seen.
Yes,
This dude is
sir.
like he's like 7'2", going off against Bruce Lee, who's 5'8". And it's just it's an epic film. It's an epic fight scene, I should say. I'd seen clips of it before, but to see the whole thing in its duration is fucking badass, man. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I'm have to Netflix it for sure. I don't know. Is it on Netflix? I don't know. Judges?
Yeah, that's a great movie. I'm definitely gonna go back and watch that now. My vibe of the week is nowhere near as dope, but I mean, it's dope to me.
What you vibe to, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's dope to me. My vibe of the week has kept me alive for like the past 3 weeks. So shout out to Trader Joe's, man. Yo, Trader Joe's has kept me alive, bruh. Like they got these dope greens that I get. And I've been making some amazing dishes, and I'm really loving it. For those of you who don't know, I love to cook, and so this has just been heaven sent for me. So that's my vibe of the week.
All right, shout out to Trader Joe's, TJ's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So first of all, before we get out of here, we want to thank our guests one more time for joining.
Yeah,
us.
absolutely. His name's Imagine. ThatImagine.com has all the podcasts, but yeah, Tell Me a Secret podcast.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And this is the Seker Factory that we are sitting in, SekerFactory.com. We are in downtown Los Angeles. Come find us.
Yes, sir.
I hear you.
On that note, also all the social media platforms that we're on Twitter, Instagram, is just at Seker Factory. Nice and simple.
At Seker Factory.
Okay, I just want to take this time to say this day today, my mom was born. Shout out to her. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you very much. I know you're going to listen to this, so yeah, take care of yourself, all right? Don't be getting in no trouble, all right?
Shout out.
I'm watching out for you, okay? Yeah. Love you, Ma. Love you, Ma. All right, shout out from the Bronx Room.
Shout out.
There it is, man.
Shout out.
That's a huge shout out.
Always show love to your mom, man.
Yeah. You raised a wonderful son.
You did.
He
Yes, sir.
cheats at chess, but he's a great guy. All right, so you guys heard it here first. And again, we will see you next week on The Bronze Room.